Hey friends, real quick before we start the podcast, I want to let you know about the Mighty Warrior Handbook. This is a powerful new tool that I have built based off of the story of Gideon in Judges. Gideon, one of my all-time favorite Bible heroes. But he didn't start out that way. He had to become what God was calling him to be. God calls him a mighty warrior. And we are being called to be something more than what we are right now. This guide will help you identify, where is God calling you? Who does God want you to become, and how can you get there? There's a link in the podcast description. It's totally free. Download the guide and get started on becoming who God wants you to become, a mighty warrior for God. Okay, now let's get to the podcast. Hey everybody, welcome again to Excited About the Gospel, a meaning and purpose interview. Happy to be joined today by Dr. Jamison Law. Jamison, thanks for being on the podcast.
You bet.
Dr. Law and I first met. I remember your email address, I think back then was Dr. Law.
It might have been something obnoxious like that.
Yeah. But you fulfilled that. Jamison has a doctorate of education and counselor education and supervision, a master's in mental health counseling. He's an assistant professor and has a mental health private practice in Utah. His career approach is based on existentialism, the pursuit of purpose and meaning in the joys and struggle of life. He's a lifelong learner of the gospel of Jesus Christ, member of the Church of Jesus Christ Latter-day Saints. He's been married for 25 years, has 4 kids, 2 of them are married, 1 grandchild on the way, 2 dogs and a cat, and loves being outside, biking, camping, motorcycle. Jamison, great to have a conversation with you about this. And maybe just start us off for somebody who doesn't understand, because I don't totally understand what the meaning of existentialism is.
Well, existentialism is something I got exposed to in my career. So I've been a mental health counselor since 2006. And in that process, I did a doctorate degree and went on and finished that. And so at the foundation of mental health or psychological application of psychology in counseling are theories. Okay. And there's several, like there's a couple of foundational ones upon which others grew and spread out. And, just like the branches of a tree, there's different ones now. But existentialism, I was first exposed to years ago, and lots of people will probably know of the book called Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl.
Mm-hmm.
And Viktor Frankl, along with a couple other people like Rollo May, Irvin Yalom as well, those are 3 kind of the big existentialists. But existentialism is a philosophy, or originally was based on a philosophy when it comes to the psychotherapy approach. And its philosophical foundation is based in that life can have meaning and purpose, and that even through suffering that you can find meaning and purpose. At the core of it is the ability to choose, that it doesn't matter what the messiness life throws at you, that there is still the capacity to make a choice, even in the most difficult, dire, or even dark circumstances. And so my first exposure to it, of course, was reading Man's Search for Meaning, which is about Frankl during World War II. And upon his, building upon his experiences as well as his psychiatric experience, he created his own psychotherapy style called logotherapy, which is based on these existential principles. And I remember reading this. This is back when, even before I started a doctorate in '09, and reading it, and I was like, oh my goodness, I found something finally that really fits how I see life. And so, yeah, that it has a spiritual foundation to it as well, at least as I see it. Frankl was actually very spiritual and religious. Other existentialists are not, but they still try to look at things from a meaningful perspective. And also as a clinician and even as a professor, I look at the way I work with people, whether it be students or clients, from that perspective, that I'm a fellow journeyer on this experience of life.
Mm.
And I'm not the expert on their life, but it's my opportunity to help them become the expert they need to be so they can make meaningful change. So that's a
Mm.
long explanation, but essentially that's what it is.
Uh, yeah, for those unaware, and I just happened to have a chance a couple of months ago to be in Germany. We went to Dachau concentration camp, which is listed as one of the ones where Frankel spent some time, as well as Auschwitz. For those unaware, he's yeah, spent time in German concentration camps in World War II, and Man's Search for Meaning. So, I mean, not having read the book, I probably should at some point. Uh, my understanding of him is this ability to choose, right? I mean, he's kind of famous for saying they can take everything away from you. They
Yes.
can't take away, you always have your ability to choose and to choose your response to what's going around you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it's based on. And in the book, of course, he gives examples of just the atrocities. And
Hmm.
that sometimes an individual's choice in those concentration camps was as small as literally having a crust of bread left over, and though you're starving, there's somebody worse off, and you give that to the other person, and that creates meaning in that experience. Um, and again, that's just one of several examples that when I read this, I was like, no, you're
Mm.
right. You're right. We still have this choice to be, kind and generous to others as well as to ourselves. So,
Yeah. Um, so I'm fascinated by this concept of someone who spends their life teaching, talking, counseling on finding meaning and purpose. What do you currently see as sort of the purpose, the meaning of your life right now?
do you have enough time? Um, the meaning and purpose of my life. I can tell you how I came to it.
That'd be good. That'd be
So
good.
naturally, as starting off as a young man in my early 20s, and I got married. I mean, uh, Jason and I have known each other since that time.
Yeah.
That's how long we've known each other. And of course, my original purpose upon meeting my sweetheart and getting married for time and all eternity, I had all this idea of what a husband and future father and a man needed to be. I had all these requirements and ideas, and some of them came from my parents, some came from gospel-oriented things, some from classes I took. I mean, so many requirements, and I'll be honest, it was an exhaustive list. But I was up to the challenge. So within that list was, of course, remain faithful to to the gospel of Jesus Christ, which still is at the core of who I am,
Hmm.
as well as to be that kind of man with my sweetheart and then eventually with my children, and to be a provider for my family and to protect and all those wonderful things that all of us supermen, we have these ideas we should do. And not only that, not and they're not bad, but I had the idea of I had to do it this certain way else
Hmm.
or else. And I couldn't even tell you what that else was, but it was there. And so that meant I went to school, I got jobs, I sought a career that would give me what I thought meaning and purpose so that I'd be giving back to my community and helping people in some way. So that's counseling. I finished my bachelor's and then I went into a master's 9 months later. I was already working for Child Protective Services, helping, and
Mm.
finished a master's in mental health and started working with clients who've been through severe trauma. Really, the stuff that you watch movies about.
Yeah.
And
Huh.
I had a great supervisor and trainer who helped me along the way for many years. And I can say that it was good for me. I was learning, but on the other side of my life, of course, I was having a family and children and trying to provide for them. And that continued to grow and blossom, all of those things, all of those roles as time went on. And then, of course, I returned to school to finish a doctorate degree, which was, I literally just picked up where I left off and continued on again with this new idea and goal of, hey, I can help people out there who need help, but now I can actually take what I've learned and my experience and learn more and go help other people who want to go out and help, and maybe it'll help the world in some way, all again while raising a family and trying so hard to still even serve in the kingdom, serve in the church, and all of these things. And I am not saying any of this didn't give me purpose and meaning, because it did.
Yeah.
It was very, very good. And I wouldn't go back and change anything, but I'll be honest, all the while exhausting myself. Exhausting myself. And slowly over time, that Superman idea of how I was supposed to be and who I was supposed to be started getting chipped away, which was hard. And by the way, still hard. Yeah, we talk about being
Mm.
a little bit older than we were when you and I first knew each other. But the strength is there, the energy isn't there. The mind is still there, but I think, what did I have for breakfast? Did I have breakfast? I don't know. Um, the longer I keep going, the more and more I'm finding that yes, these things on the outside of the four walls of my home, they're important. But at the end of the day, really, truly, what my purpose and honestly, my greatest joy is that family that I have created,
Yeah.
united with my sweetheart. And I get the most joy and the most purpose in those memories with them and creating new ones. Still enjoy my job. It's a good job. It gives me it provides what I wanted as well as what my family needs. And we have some
Hmm.
fun too. But at the end of the day, I'd give up all of that just to spend time with them. All of it.
Yeah.
My favorite things nowadays are when my two oldest kids and their spouses are at home with all of us. And it doesn't matter if we're sitting in the front room and people are doom scrolling and chatting, which, well, no, I can't stand that. Uh, or we're just sitting around and we're having a meal together, or we're just joking around and having fun or having a serious conversation. I don't care what it is. Being with them, and I will even add being with other people that I have meaningful relationships with. Nothing is more important. And there's reasons why I came to that conclusion. I mean, we could go into that further. I don't know how much time we have. I've talked a lot, so
Yeah, no, I love that. I want to talk a bit about kind of the stripping away. One thing that always comes to my mind, I'm dealing with it. I think many people our age are, especially maybe for dads. Like I used to come home from work and like I was sort of needed, like there was kids that needed run around. There was homework to work on. There was this. Now I come home and I'm like you, half my kids are out of the house. I got a 17-year-old senior, great kid, but doesn't need a lot from me. A
me too.
junior doesn't need a lot from me. And my youngest is turning 13 and she's off hanging out with her friends. And so then I look around the house and my wife is there and I'm like, how
What
do
we
I,
did.
yeah. Like, and then I ask her, I'm like, and we had a funny conversation because I was telling her the other day, well, this is months ago now that, gosh, I just come home, I don't feel needed. And she's like, well, there's this project and there's that project. And she listed off like 6 house projects that needed done.
It's
I'm
the
like,
list.
I know. And I'm like, I know, but I don't feel like, I don't go cut down the apple tree in our backyard that needs to be taken. And I don't feel like, yeah, I am fulfilling my purposism, man.
Nope.
So, so because that's my favorite too. Like when my kids, they're spread out. I've got kids in 3 different states and a son that's married. But when we all get together, it's great. But it happens rarely enough that, yeah, on just a random Tuesday, I'm like, gosh, dang, what do I do to find, to have today connect with meaning and purpose? On a random Tuesday, when you come home, how does that connect for you?
Oh, it's hard. Yeah, you're right. I'm not really needed anymore. And that's funny. You talk about your kids being gone and your youngest being getting ready to turn 13. Mine turns 13 in a month. My youngest does. Yeah. When I come home, a lot of times he's out with friends and stuff, and it's an empty house.
Yeah.
More and more, maybe this is like it with you. There are times when me and my wife are just sitting at home and it's empty, and we look at each other and go, well, now what? And yeah,
Yeah.
there's the list of things to do and the projects in the house and the yard that never ends. But even those, I'm like, man, those aren't fun anymore. But what am I doing all this for? Uh, it's hard. I'm finding, and even I talk to my wife about this quite frequently as well because she's in the same boat. She's like, I've been a mom for 20
Mm.
years, and my kids don't need me anymore. She's going through this as well, but for me, I'm like, well, I've got this job and this career I've chosen. I've been doing it for my family, but now my family doesn't need me anymore. And I've got to do this for another 20 years, probably, this career. How am I going to keep going? And then on top of that, you talk about the random Tuesdays. What on earth? What am I doing? And then, of course, there's the moments of just feeling the loss of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know about you, but I miss it. Um, I miss those random Tuesdays of coming home and there were little kids and there was stuff to do and yeah,
Yeah.
it's gone. And I'm the realization of it that you talk about meaning and purpose, it's completely shifting. I'm in the middle of
Yeah.
it, and I'm working on figuring that out. I mean, new hobbies, yeah, I'm trying that. Uh, my wife and I talk about going on trips for like when, because she's back in college again, and so we're like, what are we gonna do? And I mean, I try. I'll give an example. Gosh, I mean, even with my oldest kids, I'll reach out to them because I'm like, boy, I haven't seen them in a couple days, or we haven't got together. I'll reach out, hey, do you guys want to get together? And they're like, we can't. And then I remember back when I was in my 20s and my family would say, hey, we're all getting together this weekend. I can't. So what am I doing with this? I'm figuring it out. And yeah,
Yeah.
it's new things, it's new hobbies where as silly as it sounds, like monthly, we schedule a meal with my oldest kid, the whole family. They come home, we have a big meal together, we sit, we might watch a movie or something together, and that's my monthly vacation.
Mm.
And
Yeah. I guess you have to become so much more intentional about it, don't you?
yeah, yeah, and I have to actually focus on it and get jazzed with it as much as I used to get jazzed about the little stuff we do with them
Yeah.
because they are my purpose. That's why I want to be here. And now we're going to add a grandkid. And
Yeah.
that, oh, you better believe it's going to, yeah, I'm, I'm excited for this new chapter, but at the same time, I have no idea what I'm going to do.
I can tell you what not to do. I did learn this past week what not to do because we were at a basketball game of one of my sons and somebody said to me like, hey, how's life now that most of your kids are gone? And I said, oh, it's kind of sad, boring, and lonely. And my wife was sitting next to me. That didn't go well. Uh, she's like, wait a minute. You come home. It's me
Right
and
here,
you.
Jason,
Yeah.
right here.
Yeah. Yeah. So don't say that. Don't say that.
No.
Yeah. because as Franco would tell us, I always have the choice, right? I can always choose. And it's weird because now it's almost like you have so much more choice. Before I came home from work, there wasn't a lot of
There
choice.
was no
Now it's
choice.
like, yeah, now I have all this freedom of agency and it's like, gosh dang, what do I do?
Yeah.
So I want to then touch back on, you talked about going through the kind of the process you went through of stripping things away to find this incredible meaning and purpose within your family. Where do people get lost in that journey? Where do people sort of, I mean, because it narrowed down for you and you found it.
Yeah.
Some people, maybe it doesn't narrow down or maybe they don't find it. Where do we get lost in that?
Well, I can give you first one portion of my experience, and then I'll go into my, just my clinical experience with folks who get lost in it. Um, I would say one of the first pivotal moments I had was, let's see, what year is it? 2026. So this is almost 7 years ago. And that was being by my dad's bedside when he passed away. And we were good friends. And I mean, he was the guy I went to talk about what it's like to be a man. And I was sitting there by his bedside and I watched him go. I felt that. Um,
Huh.
and I don't regret it in not even a fraction of a percent. I am so glad I was there and just it was a very meaningful experience. But from that moment on, I began to have a different perspective, see things differently, had quite a few very personal and special experiences after that of really what the most important thing in my life is, the most important currency, which I used to think was make money so we can afford the things we have. And that was my idea of providing. That's what I thought it was.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but that quickly and rapidly changed to the most important thing is the only currency that has any value to me is time. Because I can never get it back. I can always make more money. I mean, because money comes and goes and who cares? Um, but it was time because all of a sudden with that man who had so much meaning to me and had been my friend in so many instances, had been that confidant, all that was now gone. And I was, for lack of better terms, as a man, I was alone.
Hmm.
That one that I had turned to was now gone. And the thought came to me very powerfully that time and how it is spent is the most important currency. Where is my true focus and how am I intentionally using that?
Mm-hmm.
And that's been kind of a continual guiding light for the past couple of years. And there were moments before that, of course, but you know, today, and I do believe for the rest of my life, how I spend my time is going to be more important because if I'm spending it according to the real values that I will have. If I spend it intentionally, I will have joy and meaning and purpose. I can choose to have it. I can make it with others and we can be together. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
Now, where people tend to get lost, and this is where I see, this is when people show up in my office or in the offices of my students and my colleagues, and they come in for many kinds of problems. And all of them are serious.
Mm-hmm.
There's depression, anxiety, problems with ADHD, problems with their spouse, relational issues, post-traumatic stress, mania, all kinds of things that I've seen over the years. Those issues, those struggles become what their time is all about because it's so heavy. They can't, it's not, it's hard to see anything outside of that. It becomes part of who they are. And so as a clinician, my hope is to help them to see what the truth is. And the truth is they are John, they are Jane, that's who they are. They are that person.
Huh.
And these experiences are there to give something to them if they so choose. Now, it sounds very simplistic in that way. And by no means am I saying, is it perfect? Because it's not. And there's a whole lot more that goes to it. And I would never minimize somebody's suffering. But at the end of the day, we have a choice to work through struggles and to once again realize or rediscover what really gives us true meaning and purpose.
Hmm.
And that takes some work. My clients that I see or have seen in the past, it takes work. And I get enjoyment and joy working with them. And it's not by me telling them that, oh yeah, you have meaning and purpose. No, I can't do that. That's not a gift I can give. That's not mine. It's a gift I have that I've received, but it's something people have to come to a realization for themselves. And again,
Yeah.
there's a lot more that goes with it.
Yeah. So you said something interesting there, maybe to help clarify. You talked about how kind of what they are experiencing almost becomes the defining feature of who they are.
Yeah, it can happen. Yeah.
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 And sometimes I think we all do that. And
Yeah.
whether it's a career or some other aspect of our life, it becomes the definition of who we are versus, we would see it as a more spiritual side, a child of God,
Yes.
God talking to Moses, thou art my son, the importance of our role in the eternal family, that type of thing. And maybe it's separating or coming to an understanding of our true meaning and
Yes.
identity. Is that part of the challenge is identity
Yes.
management?
Identity management. And I love that how President Nelson a couple of years ago talked about, let's talk about the three defining things about your identity and who you are that are the most important. One, you are a child of God. You're a child of the covenant. And the third one, of course, escapes me now because I'm staring at you. What's the third one?
Uh, I'll have to look it up. I'll do a quick Google search.
Yeah, yeah. So child of God, child of the covenant, and maybe it's member of the church. I don't remember. It's something like that.
Spirit, children of God, child of the covenant, and disciple of Jesus Christ.
Disciple of Jesus Christ. That's right.
There we
And
go.
it was something bigger than that, than member. So, and so so let's talk a little bit about what it means to be a child of God. And this is something that again, going through my own stuff over the past several years, it really started with that moment of my dad passing. And there's been several other things that have happened that have just really, again, I have no regrets for the struggles. They're not fun, but no regrets. But what does it truly mean if we really, really can feel and experience our Father in heaven or our Savior or the Holy Ghost really saying to us, you are a son or daughter of God? Oh my goodness. If we could feel that and experience it, I think many things, I don't think everything's going to be healed and just, run away. At least it hasn't happened to me that way. But that type of experience to really feel, even for a brief moment, of what that really means to us and that we are seen and felt for in that way. And the reason I say seen is you see this a lot in mental health TikTok, which it upsets me. It makes me angry. My students for the past several years know that I have a very big vengeance against that. But many of those struggles people have nowadays is they don't feel seen.
Mm,
They don't feel heard or felt. If we could feel, if I could truly feel what that is to be a son of a God, of a father, a dad in heaven who is all knowing, all powerful, all those wonderful things that the Celestial University sounds like a wonderful way to learn for the rest of eternity. But if more importantly, he could just look at me and hold my hand or put his hand on my shoulder, even pat my cheek or head or whatever, and just,
yeah.
you are my son. And I have always been for you. I have always been your greatest fan. And I want to be with you too.
Mm,
I don't think any other need for being seen can even is even going to touch that. I'm not saying that it's not important. I'm just saying, goodness, my first main supervisor or boss when I was getting licensed as a counselor, he said to me once, he said he believed that if we were able to stand in the presence and glory of our Savior for just a few minutes, it would heal any sadness, any difficulty, all traumas, everything instantaneously.
huh.
We would know who we are and we could just continue forging ahead.
Yeah.
And again, I've not experienced anything like that. I'd love to. I've had other experiences that were wonderful, but that stuck with me. And so as time's gone on, I mean, if I really can see that I am a son of God, I would want to be a disciple. It would be more important than anything else, than any
Hmm.
degree or anything that I ever achieved. And again, not minimizing those. Those were hard work and it was good. But also to be of course I'd want to make covenants. Absolutely. And of course I would try hard to keep them and to repent and try to change but to seek the strength and power through him because I can't do it.
Hmm.
I can't. So
What do you see? What's been your experience? How can we help somebody else maybe feel that, feel seen, feel heard, feel loved and appreciated?
have you ever been around somebody who just listened to you? Like you knew because of, you could just feel it. They looked you in the eye, nothing distracted them. There was no cell phone in their hands. There was no other voices around them distracting them, but they listened and just let you talk. They smiled at you and and you just felt like I'm important to this person. That's how we do it.
Uh,
It's not even necessarily our words. It's our presence and our time. It's like when I meet up with people, whether it's clients or students or family members and friends who've gone through like a really bad struggle and loss, especially loss and grief is
mm,
just messy. And you know, we always usually try to fumble through words and we're in our heads. We're like, man, what do I say to this person to help them feel hope and all that kind of stuff. And we'll usually bumble something out like, oh, I'm sorry for your loss. You know, so
yeah.
like that. What if we just didn't say anything and we just were there? You know, the scriptures say, mourn with those who mourn. We sit and we fill it out with them.
Huh.
It's more than words. We don't provide words of comfort because we aren't the comforter. We can maybe be a part of that. And so
Mm,
yeah, somebody comes up to you,
yeah.
they've just lost their job, their dream job, and all of a sudden they are just absolutely devastated. Then Yeah, rather than saying, you'll find something better, it'll work out. Well, I'm not a soothsayer. I'm not a seer. I don't know if it's going to work out. It's just simply, man, you're absolutely just devastated, betrayed, hurt, and at a loss. And not even saying, what can I do for you? It's just
Yeah.
simply being there. You're already doing what they need. That's it.
Huh.
You're not trying to fix. And if there's something you can do, great. But if there's nothing, you don't have to. It's just that presence, that warmth, that kind, gentle figure that you can be at that time. I think that's very meaningful.
Huh. Yeah. I remember one time going to a counselor and he pointed that out and he said, the crazy thing is my job is literally people pay me to sit here and listen to them. Like they don't have anybody else. So they have to pay me to sit and listen to them. Which, yeah, uh, just having someone who, yeah, is willing to just sit and listen, and then of course there's the memes and the jokes about counseling, right? It's just like, you just sit there. Well, how does that make you feel? How,
Oh,
yeah. If you made that choice, what would the impact be?
I love it when my students are like doing practice because they have to do a lot of practice. How does you feel? I'll just go, oh, hold on. Let's just pause for a second. Let's reframe how you're going. What are you really trying to say? And I'm like, don't say that. Don't say that. Because you could probably already guess how they feel rather than saying, how does that make you feel? You actually say, oh my gosh, you are just that. You don't even know how to feel or how to describe it at this moment.
Yeah.
It is just depth, despair. Yeah. Yeah, the memes. The
Yeah.
memes.
uh, so as we wrap up, the other thing I really wanted to ask you about was this concept of agency. How does agency play such a critical role in finding meaning and purpose?
It's at the you can't do it without it. And the reason I say it that way is we have, I mean, we fought for agency. At least that is what we hold to as one of our beliefs, that we fought for agency in the war in heaven before this existence. We wanted that power and ability, and it was an irrefutable power that God wanted us to have, so we could choose to follow him or to not. And he respects it so much, he let a third of the hosts of heavens choose to not, and then lets others here on earth choose to not. But yet he creates the pathway for everybody to choose him and to have happiness and joy. Now, what does that mean about here? Well, of course, we're making choices every day, but maybe some of us struggle. Maybe some of us struggle with ever seeing the silver lining in anything, even a good day. Maybe a good day, we just see the bad things.
Hmm.
My line of work, we might call that, a bit of an anxious brain or just depressive state. And maybe that's your lot. Maybe that's your struggle. And again, not minimizing it, but there are ways to relearn and to see the joys. And one of them is gratitude. And again, the research is out there, gratitude journals or expressing gratitude, things like that. It's not just something cute, it's real. And
Hmm.
you have to make an intentional choice. You can't just say, oh, well, I'm grateful that it wasn't gloomy today, or, I'm in Salt Lake Valley and I'm grateful there wasn't an inversion that made it like feel like 40 below and was gloomy and it looks like it's, I live in Alaska because there's no light. No, it's not that. It's really, truly, did you go out and you looked? Did you take a breath in it? Did you experience the moment of maybe the Lord gave me this one moment, this 5 minutes, where I could be like, he sees me. Um, a neat example of this I heard a couple years ago, and this is a the wife of one of my cousins, and I've always looked up to these guys. And she said she was on a trip in the Philippines, which, wow, that sounds cool. You know the Philippines. You went there. Just remembered that. Yeah. And she was going from one island to the next, and she said this massive storm came up, and they were on this small boat. And she said the people in the boat were freaking out, and they're just pounding over waves, and rain was coming down, I believe. Anyway, she painted the picture really well. And she said people were really scared. And she just said, she sat there and she was like, this is an experience. God is giving me this right now. My Father is allowing this to happen because I do believe I'm going to be okay. I'm going to survive this. It's going to be fine. I'm going to have a great time when I get there. When I get home, I'll be fine. But in this moment, my Father in heaven is letting me see this. And I loved that. I mean, it
Mm.
sounds so simple, but really it was her perspective. And she's a very, at least to me, maybe she's not in private, but she's always been kind of this sunshiny person. And I married a girl who's just like that. She's always been very sunshiny. And I've always said to her, I was like, you just see the world through rose-colored glasses. And she looks at me one day and she says, one, rude. You say that like it's a bad thing. And two, yeah, because I want to. She's like, I don't feel like it all the time. She's like, I have pride, anxiety. I feel depressed all the time, but I want to see these wonderful, rosy things. And you know what? She's right. At least she's right for me. Because I'm not rosy. I'm not.
Well, I mean, yeah, that's probably half of why she married you is
Probably.
saw all the good, saw all the good.
Mm. So yeah.
Yeah. Um, so if someone's listening to this and thinking, yeah, I need a place to start. I got to start kind of shifting. You mentioned gratitude journaling. Is that is that where you would recommend people start? Is there another practice that helps us shift our view or our mindset or anything?
I have two ideas. And the second one is because I've been doing some extra training. We have to do this in counseling. We have to do new trainings every two as part of our licensure, and I'm doing some stuff, so I got some stuff in my mind. One, yes, intentional gratitude, like really putting aside everything else for just a moment, even if it's 5 minutes a day, and really feeling grateful, even if it's just something small, even if it's just you wore a pair of socks, that's your favorite pair of socks, and experiencing it. And I know that sounds silly, but it is. But the second thing is time. If you don't use the time to be grateful, you might not feel the gratitude that you need to feel. It's how are you spending it? And when you're spending it, and in that moment, I'm not saying pretend away or forget all your troubles. No, I'm saying literally take what's right there, that sadness and all that kind of stuff. It's right there. Just set it aside for 5 minutes. It's going to come back. That's it'll come back, but also the good times come. And as part of that, and this is something that's very based on what's called mindfulness meditation. And no, it is not the TikTok watered down social media mindfulness. It's the real stuff. And that is that all experiences in this life are impermanent and temporary. The good, the ones that we really want and wish would never go away, that's the moment when I'm sitting with my family and we're having a great time that gives me purpose and meaning and true joy. Well, that hour and a half, 2 hours, it's going to end. It's going to stop. And I'm going to be left to myself, which maybe when I'm alone by myself, maybe I'm not the cheeriest person. But I still can, even after that, I can set that aside and remind myself, oh my gosh, I had this moment. This was wonderful. And we have to practice it again and again and again because maybe we've spent 40 some odd years being a little more negative and less joyful. And we got to practice that. And that's okay. We get to experience the great stuff with family as well as the deadlines at work or the stresses of life or all that kind of stuff. We get to. That's life. We signed up for this. Boom. That's where agency comes in. How am I going to use my agency with this? What's my focus? And it takes practice again and again and again. So,
yeah. I love that. Just start practicing, I guess, huh? Just start doing something a bit different and focusing a bit differently. So, love it.
yeah.
Talking with Jamison Law, and really appreciate the time, the insights, and some powerful things for us to think about and apply into our lives. Thanks so much for being on the podcast.
Thank you.